The days passed slowly at Galactic Academy. Yuna kept to herself. She went to classes, ate her meals alone, and studied in her room. She did not try to make friends. It was easier that way. Most students were too scared to talk to her anyway. But she watched. She listened. And she learned. She learned that Grek was a Voldran. His species came from a heavy gravity planet, which made them incredibly strong. They were known throughout the galaxy as warriors and fighters. Many Voldrans worked as soldiers or bodyguards. They were proud and aggressive. She also learned that Grek was the son of a powerful military general. His family was rich and important. That was why he acted like he owned the academy. That was why no one stopped him. One afternoon, Yuna was walking to the library when she heard a commotion in a side hallway. She stopped and looked around the corner. Grek was there with his 4 friends. They had surrounded a small alien with soft blue fur and big frightened eyes. The small alien was holding a stack of data pads against his chest. His whole body was shaking. "Please," the small alien said. His voice was high and scared. "I do not want any trouble." "Then you should not have looked at me," Grek said. He grabbed one of the data pads and threw it on the ground. The screen cracked. "That was my homework," the small alien whispered. Tears were forming in his big eyes. "Do I look like I care?" Grek laughed. He pushed the small alien against the wall. "You are nothing. Your species is nothing. You come from a weak planet with no strength. Why are you even at this academy?" The small alien did not answer. He was too scared to speak. Grek raised his massive fist. "Maybe I should teach you a lesson about respecting your betters." Yuna stepped into the hallway. "That is enough." Everyone turned to look at her. Grek's eyes narrowed when he saw who it was. "The human," he said. His lips curled into an ugly smile. "This is not your business. Walk away. Let him go," Yuna said. Her voice was calm and steady. "He did nothing wrong." Grek laughed. "You want to be a hero? Fine. Come and stop me." Yuna did not move. She just stood there, looking at Grek with her dark eyes. Something about her gaze made Grek uncomfortable. It was like looking into the eyes of a predator. Cold, patient, waiting. For a moment, no one moved. The hallway was completely silent. Then one of Grek's friends whispered something in his ear. Grek's smile returned. "Not here," he said. "Too many cameras." But soon, human. Very soon. He dropped a small alien and walked away. His friends followed, looking back at Yuna with hateful eyes. Yuna helped the small alien pick up his broken datapad. "Are you okay?" The alien nodded quickly. "Thank you. Thank you so much. No one has ever stood up to Grek before. You're very brave." He paused. "Or very foolish. Maybe both," Yuna said with a small smile. "My name is Pio," the alien said. "I am from planet Sella. We are not a strong species. Grek picks on us often. Does no one report him?" Pio shook his head sadly. "His father is too powerful. The teachers pretend not to see. The other students are too scared. Grek does whatever he wants." Yuna frowned. This was wrong. Back on Earth, there were bullies too. But there were also consequences. Here, it seemed like the strong could do anything to the weak. "Thank you again," Pio said. "But please be careful. Grek never forgets. He never forgives. He will come for you." "I know," Yuna said. Over the next few weeks, Yuna saw more of Grek's cruelty. He tripped students in the hallways. He stole food from weaker species. He broke things that belonged to others. He insulted and mocked anyone who was different from him. The teachers did nothing. The other students did nothing. Everyone just accepted it. Yuna could not understand this. On Earth, Humans had learned long ago that the strong must protect the weak. That was how society survived. That was how civilizations grew. But here, in this advanced galactic academy, bullying was simply allowed to happen. One day, Yuna was eating lunch alone when Pio sat down across from her. He looked nervous. "Can I sit here?" he asked. Yuna nodded. "Everyone is talking about you," Pio said quietly. "They say you stood up to Greg. They say you looked at him without fear. Some think you are crazy. Some think you are brave. But everyone is watching. Let them watch," Yuna said. "Greg is planning something," Pio continued. "I heard his friends talking. They want to hurt you. They want to make an example of you. Show everyone what happens when someone challenges them." Yuna took a bite of her food. "When? I do not know. But soon. Maybe in class. Maybe in the halls. You should be careful. Thank you for telling me." Pio looked at her with confusion. "You are not scared?" Yuna thought about the question. Was she scared? She had been scared many times on Earth, when the earthquake hit her city, when she got lost in the mountains during a hiking trip, when a wild boar chased her through the forest. Those things were scary. But Greg? He was just a bully. A big, strong bully, yes. But still just a bully. "No," she said finally. "I am not scared." Pio stared at her like she was the strangest creature in the galaxy. Maybe she was. That night, Yuna went to the gym. The academy had a training facility for students who wanted to exercise. It was usually empty late at night that she did not use the fancy machines. Instead, she did what she had always done on Earth. Push-ups, sit-ups, squats, running. Simple exercises that humans had been doing for thousands of years. She did them for 2 hours without stopping. By the end, her muscles were burning and her clothes were soaked with sweat. But she felt good. She felt ready. The gym door opened. Yuna turned and saw another student enter. It was a female alien with silver skin and bright purple eyes. She was tall and thin, with long fingers and graceful movements. "You are the human," the alien said. It was not a question. "Yes. I watched you exercise. 2 hours of continuous physical activity. Most students cannot do that for 20 minutes. The alien walked closer. "My name is Hana. I am from planet Velthus. We are scholars, not fighters. But I have studied your species. Humans are fascinating." "Thank you," Yuna said. "Greg is going to attack you," Hana said directly. "He cannot stand being challenged. His pride will not allow it. When he comes, he will try to hurt you badly. Maybe permanently. I know." Hana tilted her head. "And you are still not running? You are not asking for protection. You are not trying to transfer to a different school." "No. Why?" Yuna picked up her towel and wiped her face. "Because running does not solve problems. It just moves them somewhere else. Greg will not stop being a bully if I leave. He will just find someone else to hurt. Someone who cannot defend themselves. You think you can defend yourself against a Voldran? I think I have to try." Hana was silent for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. "You are different from what I expected," she said. "I expected a savage beast from a death planet. Instead, I find a quiet girl with iron in her spine. Humans are full of surprises." Hana laughed softly. "I am beginning to understand that." She walked toward the door, then stopped. "Be careful, Yuna. The galaxy is not kind to those who challenge the powerful. But perhaps it needs people who are willing to try." She left. Yuna stood alone in the empty gym. Through the window, she could see thousands of stars shining in the darkness of space. Each star was a sun. Each sun had planets. Each planet had its own stories, its own problems, its own bullies and heroes. She was just one small human girl from one small planet. But she had something that Greg did not have. She had grown up on a Deathworld. She had learned to survive before she could walk. She had faced predators, disasters, and dangers that would kill most species in the galaxy. Greg thought he was strong because he could push around weaker students. But true strength was not about hurting others. True strength was about protecting them. True strength was about standing up when everyone else sat down. Una smiled to herself. Let Greg come. Let him try whatever he wanted. She was ready. It happened on a Tuesday morning in Galactic Biology class. Una was sitting at her usual spot near the back of the room. The teacher was explaining something about cellular regeneration in different species. Una was taking notes carefully. She enjoyed biology. It was interesting to learn how different life forms had evolved across the galaxy. The door opened and Greg walked in. He was late, as usual. The teacher looked at him with tired eyes, but said nothing. She had stopped trying to discipline him months ago. Greg scanned the room with his small red eyes. When he saw Una, his lips curled into an ugly smile. He walked slowly between the rows of desks, making his way toward the back of the classroom. The other students watched nervously. They knew something was going to happen. They could feel the tension in the air like electricity before a storm. Greg stopped right next to Una's desk. He stood there, blocking the light, casting a shadow over her notes. Una did not look up. She continued writing. "Human," Greg said loudly. His voice echoed through the silent classroom. "I am talking to you." Una kept writing. The teacher at the front of the room shifted uncomfortably. "Greg, please take your seat. We are in the middle of a lesson." Greg ignored her. "You think you are special, do you? You think because you come from a death planet, you are better than everyone else?" Una still did not respond. Her pen moved steadily across the paper. Greg's face darkened with anger. He was not used to being ignored. On his home planet, ignoring someone was the greatest insult possible. It meant they were not worth your attention. It meant they were nothing. "Look at me when I'm talking to you," Greg growled. Una finally looked up. Her dark eyes met his red ones. There was no fear in her gaze. No anger, no emotion at all. Just calm, steady focus. "Yes?" she said simply. That single word, spoken so calmly, made Greg's blood boil. Every other student in the academy trembled when he spoke to them. They begged. They apologized. They ran away. But this small human girl just sat there like he was nothing more than a mild inconvenience. "You think you are so tough," Greg said. His voice was getting louder. "You think you can challenge me and get away with it. Let me show you what happens to people who disrespect me." He raised his massive hand. The teacher gasped. "Greg, stop. This is a classroom." But Greg did not stop. His hand came down fast and hard. He slapped Una across the face with his full strength. The sound was like a gunshot. It echoed through the room. Una's head snapped to the side. Her body stayed in her chair. She did not fall. She did not cry out. The whole class held their breath. For a moment, nothing happened. Una sat there with her head turned, her long black hair covering her face. A red mark was already forming on her cheek. Greg laughed. It was a loud, cruel sound. "See? She is not so tough. She is just a weak little." Una stood up. It was a simple movement. Just standing up from a chair. But something about it made everyone in the room freeze. It was too calm. Too controlled. Too quiet. She turned to face Greg. Her hair fell away from her face, revealing her expression. She was smiling. Not a friendly smile. Not a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator who had finally decided to hunt. "Thank you," she said softly. Greg blinked. "What?" "I have been waiting," Una continued. Her voice was calm and quiet, waiting for you to do something. Something that would let me respond. Insulting me was not enough. Threatening me was not enough. But hitting me? She tilted her head slightly. That is assault? That is self-defense. Greg laughed again, but this time it sounded less confident. Self-defense? What are you going to do, little human? I am 3 times your size. I am a Voldrin warrior. My species has conquered planets. You are just a soft creature from a... Yuna moved Dot to the other students. It looked like she simply vanished. One moment she was standing by her desk. The next moment she was directly in front of Greg. Her fist hit his jaw with a sound, like breaking stone. Greg's head snapped back. Spit and blood flew from his mouth. Before he could react, Yuna's second punch landed on his nose. The crunch of breaking cartilage filled the room. Greg stumbled backward, his hands going to his face. Blood was pouring from his nose. His eyes were wide with shock. No one had ever hurt him before. No one had ever made him bleed. Ow, he started to say. But Yuna was not finished. She stepped forward and drove her knee into his stomach. The air rushed out of Greg's lungs with a whoosh. He bent over, gasping for breath. Yuna grabbed his head and pulled it down. At the same time, she brought her elbow up. The two met in the middle with devastating force. Greg's orbital bone cracked. The skin around his eyes split open. 4 seconds had passed. Greg was trying to straighten up, trying to fight back. His fists were swinging wildly, but they hit nothing but air. Yuna was too fast. She ducked under his arm and struck him twice in the ribs. She could feel the bones crack under her knuckles. 6 seconds. Greg roared in pain and rage. He swung his massive arm in a wide arc, trying to grab Yuna. She leaned back, letting the arm pass inches from her face, then stepped in close. Her palm struck his chin from below, snapping his head back again. 8 seconds. Greg was barely standing now. His face was covered in blood. One eye was swelling shut. His nose was completely destroyed. He was making small, whimpering sounds. Yuna looked at him with those calm, dark eyes. On Earth, she said quietly, we have a saying. Do not start fights you cannot finish. She grabbed his arm, turned her body, and threw him over her shoulder. Greg flew through the air and crashed into 2 desks, breaking them into pieces. He landed on his back with a heavy thud and did not get up. 10 seconds. The classroom was absolutely silent. No one moved. No one breathed. They all stared at the scene before them with disbelief. The mighty Greg, the strongest student in the academy, the son of a powerful general, was lying on the floor in a pool of his own blood. His face was ruined. His body was broken. And standing over him was a small human girl who was not even breathing hard. Yuna looked down at Greg. He was still conscious. Barely. His one good eye was looking up at her with pure terror. He tried to speak, but only blood came out of his mouth. Remember this, Yuna said softly. Remember what happens when you hurt people who cannot fight back. Because next time, I will not stop at 10 seconds. She turned and walked back to her desk. She picked up her pen, sat down, and looked at the teacher. I'm sorry for the interruption, she said politely. Please continue the lesson. The teacher stared at her with her mouth hanging open. She could not speak. She could not move. She had just watched a human destroy a Voldrin warrior in 10 seconds. The other students were the same. They sat frozen in their seats, eyes wide, minds trying to process what they had just witnessed. Greg groaned on the floor. His friends, who had been sitting near the front, did not move to help him. They were too scared. If she could do that to Greg, what could she do to them? Finally, the teacher found her voice. Someone call medical. Now. A student at the front pressed the emergency button on his desk. Yuna sat quietly, waiting for the lesson to continue. Her cheek still had the red mark from Greg's slap. But otherwise, she looked exactly the same as before. Calm, patient. UMBOTHERED.PIYO, who was sitting 2 rows away, was staring at her with his big eyes. His mouth was moving, but no sound came out. Finally, he managed to whisper one word. How? Yuna heard him. She turned her head slightly and smiled. It was a gentle smile this time. A kind smile. I told you, she said. I grew up on a Deathworld. We learned to fight before we learned to walk. The medical team arrived 5 minutes later. They loaded Greg onto a stretcher and rushed him away. One of the medics looked at Yuna with a mixture of fear and respect. His jaw is broken in 3 places, the medic said. His nose is shattered. His orbital bone is fractured. 4 ribs are cracked. He will need extensive reconstruction surgery. The medic paused. What? What did you hit him with? Yuna held up her hands. Her knuckles were slightly red, but otherwise unharmed. Just these. The medic shook his head slowly and walked away. The rest of the class passed in silence. No one talked. No one asked questions. The teacher tried to continue her lecture, but her voice kept shaking. Eventually, she gave up and dismissed everyone early. Yuna gathered her things and walked out of the classroom. Students in the hallway pressed against the walls as she passed, just like before. But now, the fear in their eyes was different. Before, they had been afraid because of what they had heard about humans. Now, they were afraid because of what they had seen. Yuna ignored them all. She walked to the dining hall, got her lunch, and sat at her usual table alone. But for the first time, she did not feel alone. She felt something else, something she had not expected. She felt free. The shuttle landed on Station Orion with a soft hum. Yuna looked through the small window and saw the massive space station for the first time. It was bigger than any city she had ever seen on Earth. Lights blinked everywhere. Ships moved in and out like busy insects. This was going to be her new home for the next 4 years. She grabbed her small bag and walked toward the exit. Her heart was beating fast, but her face showed nothing. That was something her grandmother had taught her back in Korea. Never show fear. Never show weakness. The world will test you, and you must be ready. The doors opened, and Yuna stepped into the main hall of the Galactic Academy. Aliens of all shapes and sizes walked past her. Some were tall with blue skin. Some were short with too many eyes. Some floated instead of walking. Yuna had studied about alien species before coming here, but seeing them in person was different. She felt very small. A robot guide approached her. It was silver and had a friendly face painted on its screen. "Welcome to Galactic Academy," the robot said. "You must be the new transfer student from Earth. Please follow me to the registration office." Yuna nodded and followed the robot through the crowded halls. She noticed something strange as she walked. Other students were looking at her, not with curiosity, but with something else. Some looked scared. Some looked angry. Some whispered to their friends and pointed at her. She heard words like Deathworlder and dangerous and why is she here floating through the air. Yuna pretended not to hear. She kept her eyes forward and her back straight. The registration office was a large room with many desks. A tall alien with gray skin and 4 arms sat behind the main counter. He looked at Yuna with wide yellow eyes when she approached. "Human," he said. His voice was flat. "From Earth, Category 9 Deathworld." "Yes," Yuna said simply. The alien typed something on his screen. His 4 hands moved very fast. "You are the 3rd human to ever attend this academy. The first 2 did not stay long." Yuna did not ask why. She did not want to know. Your room is in Building 7, Floor 3, Room 42. The alien continued. Your classes start tomorrow. Here is your schedule and your student card. Do not lose them. Yuna took the items and bowed slightly. Thank you. The alien seemed surprised by her politeness. Most species from Deathworlds were known to be rough and aggressive. But this small human girl was quiet and polite. Strange. Why Yuna found her room after walking for 20 minutes. The station was like a maze. Her room was small but clean. It had a bed, a desk, a small bathroom, and a window that showed the stars outside. She put her bag on the bed and sat down. For a moment, she let herself feel tired. The journey from Earth had taken 3 weeks. She had left everything behind. Her family, her friends, her home. All because she had won a scholarship to study at the best academy in the galaxy. Her mother had cried when she left. Her father had been proud but worried. Her little brother had made her promise to bring back alien gifts. Yuna smiled at that memory. She pulled out a small photo from her bag. It showed her family standing in front of their house in Bizen. The cherry blossoms were blooming in the background. She placed the photo on her desk and looked at it for a long time. I will make you proud, she whispered. The next morning, Yuna woke up early. She washed her face, put on her uniform, and tied her long black hair into a neat ponytail. The uniform was gray with blue lines. It looked the same for all students, but it felt strange on her body. Too light, too soft. She walked to her first class, which was Galactic Biology. The classroom was large and filled with students from many different species. Yuna found a seat near the back and sat down quietly. The teacher was a Vulcan, a species known for their intelligence. She had green skin and large black eyes. She looked at Yuna when she entered, but said nothing. Today we will study the classification of planets, the teacher began. As you know, planets are ranked from Category 1 to Category 10 based on their danger level. Category 1 planets are safe and peaceful. Category 10 planets are impossible for most life forms. The teacher pressed a button and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a beautiful blue and green planet. This is Earth, the teacher said, home planet of humans. It is classified as Category 9. The whole class turned to look at Yuna. She felt their eyes on her like heavy stones. Earth has extreme weather, the teacher continued. Hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. The planet also has millions of predator species. Large cats, sharks, venomous snakes, venomous insects. Even some plants are deadly. More images appeared. Lions hunting, sharks attacking, spiders with fangs. The other students made sounds of horror. Humans evolved on this planet, the teacher said. They survived by becoming apex predators themselves. Their bones are dense and strong. Their muscles can produce enormous force. Their blood contains iron, which is toxic to many species. They can survive injuries that would kill most beings. They can eat foods that are poisonous to others. They are, in simple terms, built for survival. The teacher looked at Yuna again. We are fortunate to have a human student with us this year. Perhaps she can share her experiences later. Yuna said nothing. She just nodded politely. After class, she walked alone to the dining hall. Students moved out of her way as she passed. Some pressed themselves against the walls. Others changed direction completely. It was like she was a disease they did not want to catch. She got her food and sat at an empty table. The food was strange. Some kind of purple meat and green vegetables. She ate slowly, not really tasting anything. A shadow fell over her table. Yuna looked up and saw a massive alien standing in front of her. He was at least 8 feet tall, with thick gray skin and small red eyes. His arms were as big as her whole body. He had a cruel smile on his face. Behind him stood 4 other aliens. They were smaller, but looked just as mean. "So," the big alien said, "you are the human everyone is scared of." Yuna looked at him calmly. "I am just a student." The alien laughed. It was an ugly sound. "You do not look dangerous to me. You look weak, small, soft." Yuna did not respond. She turned back to her food and continued eating. The alien's smile disappeared. He was not used to being ignored. He slammed his hand on the table, making the whole thing shake. "I am Greg," he said. "I am the strongest student in this academy. Everyone respects me. Everyone fears me. You should too." Yuna looked up at him again. Her eyes were calm and steady. "Nice to meet you, Greg. My name is Yuna." Then she went back to eating. Greg's face turned dark with anger. His friends laughed nervously behind him. No one had ever treated him like this before. No one had ever ignored him. "We will see each other again, human," Greg said. His voice was low and threatening. "And next time, you will learn to show respect." He turned and walked away, his friends following behind him. Yuna finished her meal in silence. She cleaned her tray and walked back to her room. She did not feel scared. She did not feel worried. She had faced worse things on Earth, but she knew that trouble was coming. She could feel it in her bones, and when it came, she would be ready. The news spread through the academy like fire. Within an hour, everyone knew what had happened. A human girl had beaten Greg, the unbeatable Voldrin, in just 10 seconds. She had broken his face. She had shattered his pride. She had done what no one thought was possible. Videos of the fight appeared on every student's device. Someone had been recording during the class. The footage showed everything. Greg's slap, Yuna standing up, the brutal, beautiful destruction that followed. Students watched the video again and again. They slowed it down. They analyzed every punch, every kick, every movement. They could not believe what they were seeing. "She moved faster than my eyes could follow," an Italian student said to his friends. "I've heard humans were fast, but this is something else." "Look at her face," another student said. "She's not even angry. She is completely calm. Like she is doing math homework. Did you see how she threw him? He weighs at least 300 kilograms. She threw him like he was nothing." The academy was divided into 2 groups. Those who were impressed and those who were terrified. Many were both in the medical wing. Greg was in surgery. The doctors worked for 6 hours to rebuild his face. They used synthetic bone to replace the parts that were too damaged to repair. They used special machines to fix his broken ribs. When they were done, Greg looked like a different person. His face would never be the same. His father arrived that evening. General Vok was a massive Voldrin with scars covering his body. He had fought in 3 wars and killed hundreds of enemies. He was not a man who was easily impressed or easily scared. But when he saw the video of his son's defeat, he went very quiet. "Play it again," he said. His assistant played the video again. The general watched with narrow eyes. "Pause it there. When she first moves." The video paused. Yuna was just beginning her attack. Her body was a blur. "She is using combat techniques," the general said slowly. "Real techniques. Not street fighting. Not random violence. This is trained combat." He leaned closer to the screen. "Look at her footwork. Her balance. The way she chains her strikes together. This human has been trained since childhood." "Should I file a complaint with the headmaster?" his assistant asked. "We could have her expelled or arrested." The general was silent for a long moment. Then he shook his head. "No." His assistant looked surprised. "No? But sir, she defended herself," the general said. "My son attacked her first. The video shows it clearly. Any complaint we make will only embarrass our family more." He turned away from the screen. My son learned an important lesson today. A lesson I should have taught him years ago. "What lesson is that, sir?" "Never underestimate your enemy." The general walked toward the medical room where his son was recovering. "Especially a human." Meanwhile, Una was called to the headmaster's office. The headmaster was an ancient creature called a Wendell. They were one of the oldest species in the galaxy. He had 6 eyes, tentacles instead of arms, and a voice that sounded like wind through leaves. "Sit down, Miss Una," the headmaster said. Una sat in the chair across from his desk. The chair was too big for her. It was made for a larger species. "I have watched the footage from your biology class," the headmaster continued. "I have also reviewed Greg's history at this academy. His many incidents that were never properly addressed." Una said nothing. She waited. "Greg has been bullying students for 3 years, the headmaster said. "I knew about it. The teachers knew about it. We did nothing because his father is powerful, and we were afraid of the consequences." He paused. "That was wrong of us." "Yes," Una agreed simply. "It was." The headmaster made a sound that might have been a sigh. "You did in 10 seconds what we should have done years ago. You stopped him. You showed everyone that he is not untouchable. That bullies can be defeated." "Am I being expelled?" Una asked. "No." The headmaster's 6 eyes blinked one after another. "The security footage clearly shows that Greg struck you first. You acted in self-defense. According to Academy rules, you committed no crime." Una nodded. "Thank you. However," the headmaster continued, "I must ask you something. When you fought Greg, you could have stopped after the first punch. He was already hurt. Why did you continue?" Una thought about the question. "Because one punch would not have been enough. He would have gotten up. He would have attacked me again. Or worse, he would have attacked someone else, someone weaker, to restore his pride." She met the headmaster's many eyes. "I needed to break him completely. Not just his body, his spirit, his confidence, his belief that he was invincible. Only then would he stop." The headmaster was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was different, softer, almost respectful. "Humans are known throughout the galaxy as survivors," he said. "But I am beginning to think that is not quite accurate. Humans are not just survivors. You are warriors. Not warriors who fight for glory or conquest. Warriors who fight to protect. Warriors who fight to end conflict, not prolong it." Una did not know how to respond to that, so she said nothing. "You may go," the headmaster said. "And Miss Una, thank you for doing what we could not." Una bowed slightly and left the office. Outside, the hallways were crowded with students. When they saw her, they parted like water. But this time, there were whispers of a different kind. "That is her. The human who beat Greg. She is so small. How is it possible? Humans are insane. They come from a death planet. Nothing can stop them. I heard she did not even get in trouble." The headmaster called it self-defense. Una walked through the crowd, ignoring the stares and whispers. She was tired. The fight had not physically exhausted her, but the attention was draining. She just wanted to go back to her room and rest. "Una." She turned. Pio was pushing through the crowd toward her. His blue fur was messy, and his big eyes were bright with excitement. "Una, that was amazing," he said when he reached her. "You were like a storm. A beautiful, terrifying storm. I have never seen anything like it." Despite herself, Una smiled. "Thank you, Pio. Everyone is talking about you," Pio continued. "Not just in our year. The whole academy. The teachers. The staff. Everyone. He lowered his voice. Greg's father is here. I heard he watched the video. He did not file a complaint. Can you believe it? Even General Valk respects what you did. I did not do it for respect, Una said. I did it because it was necessary. Pio nodded eagerly. That is what makes it even more impressive. You were not trying to show off. You were not trying to be famous. You just did what needed to be done. They walked together toward the dining hall. For the first time, Pio walked beside Una instead of behind her or far away. He was not afraid of her. He was proud to be seen with her. Can I ask you something? Pio said, Yes. When Greg hit you, did it hurt? Una touched her cheek. The red mark had faded, but she could still feel a slight soreness. Yes, it hurt. But you did not react. You did not show any pain. How? Una thought about her answer. On Earth, pain is constant. We stub our toes. We cut our fingers. We get sunburned. We get sick. We experience small pains every day. We learn to ignore them, to push through them. She paused. When Greg hit me, it hurt. But it was not the worst pain I have ever felt. Not even close. Pio shuddered. What is the worst pain you have ever felt? When I was 12, I broke my leg falling from a tree. The bone was sticking out of my skin. I had to walk 3 kilometers to get help. Una's voice was matter-of-fact. That was pain. Greg's slap was nothing. Pio looked at her with a mixture of horror and admiration. Humans are terrifying. We prefer to think of ourselves as resilient. They reached the dining hall. For the first time, when Una got her food and sat down, other students did not run away. Some even moved closer. They did not sit at her table, not yet, but they sat nearby. They wanted to be close to her, to see her, to understand what made her so different. Hannah, the silver-skinned Velthian from the gym, approached Una's table. May I sit? Una nodded. Hannah sat down gracefully. I watched the video 14 times. She looked at Una with her bright purple eyes. You were holding back. Pio looked confused. Holding back? She destroyed him. Yes, Hannah agreed. But she could have done more. Much more. She turned to Una. You could have killed him. Easily. You chose not to. Una picked at her food. Killing him would have solved nothing. He needed to live, to remember, to tell others what happened. A dead bully is a martyr. A humiliated bully is a warning. Hannah smiled. You think like a strategist, like a general, not like a simple fighter. On Earth, we had to think like that to survive. Violence without purpose is just destruction. Violence with purpose is protection. The 3 of them ate together. It was strange for Una. She had spent weeks eating alone. Now she had company. Now she had something that felt almost like friendship. Later that night, Una received a message on her device. It was from an unknown sender. The message said, You have made powerful enemies today. Greg's family will not forget. They will not forgive. Watch your back, human. The galaxy is large, and accidents happen. Una read the message twice. Then she deleted it. She was not scared. She had been threatened before. On Earth, threats were as common as rain. What mattered was not the threat itself, but whether the person making it had the ability to follow through. And somehow, Una doubted that anyone in this academy wanted to test her again. She went to bed that night and slept peacefully. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new problems. May 3 weeks passed since the fight. Greg returned to the academy with a new face. The doctors had done their best, but he looked different now. His jaw was slightly crooked. His nose was too straight, too perfect, obviously fake. and his right eye had a permanent droop from the damaged orbital bone. But the biggest change was not physical. It was in the way he carried himself. Before, Greg had walked through the halls like he owned them. His shoulders back, his chin up, his eyes challenging everyone to defy him. Now, he walked with his head down. He avoided eye contact. He flinched when anyone moved too quickly near him. His friends had abandoned. They no longer followed him around like loyal dogs. They had found new groups, new leaders, new people to impress. In the animal kingdom, the weak were left behind. The academy was no different. Greg sat alone at meals. He did not speak in class. He did not bully anyone. He was a ghost of his former self, haunted by the memory of those 10 seconds that had destroyed everything he thought he was. Some students felt sorry for him. Most did not. Una saw him sometimes in the hallways or the dining hall. She did not avoid him, but she did not seek him out either. What was done was done. There was no point in making it worse on one day. Their paths crossed directly. Una was walking to class when Greg came around a corner. They both stopped. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. Greg's one good eye was filled with something complex. Fear, yes, but also something else. Something that might have been respect. Human, he said. His voice was quiet, broken. Greg, Una replied. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something. Then he closed it. Then he opened it again. I'm sorry, he finally said. The words seemed to cause him physical pain. For hitting you. For all the things I did. I was wrong. Una studied him carefully. She had seen many things in her life. Liars, manipulators, people who said sorry but did not mean it. But looking at Greg now, she saw something genuine. Something real. He was not apologizing because he had to. He was apologizing because he finally understood. I accept your apology, Una said. Greg blinked. You do? Yes, but not for me. Apologize to the others. The students you bullied. The ones you hurt when no one was watching. They are the ones who deserve your apology. Greg lowered his head. I will try. Trying is not enough, Una said firmly. Do it, or the next time you hurt someone, I will be there. And next time, I will not stop at 10 seconds. Greg flinched at the words, but then he nodded slowly. I understand. He walked past her, his shoulders hunched, his spirit crushed. Una watched him go with mixed feelings. She did not enjoy his suffering. She had never wanted to destroy him completely. But sometimes destruction was necessary before rebuilding could begin. Maybe, just maybe, Greg could become a better person. Only time would tell. Life at the academy changed after the incident. The culture of fear and bullying did not disappear completely, but it weakened significantly. Students who had been afraid to speak up now found their voices. Teachers who had turned a blind eye now paid attention. The headmaster implemented new policies against harassment, and at the center of it all was Una, the quiet human girl from Earth who had changed everything in 10 seconds. She became something of a legend. Students told stories about her, each version more exaggerated than the last. Some said she had trained with ancient masters. Some said she had killed wild beasts with her bare hands. Some said she could break steel with her fingers. Una ignored the stories. She focused on her studies. She attended her classes. She did her homework. She was not interested in fame or glory. She was just a student trying to get an education. But she was no longer alone. Pio became her closest friend. The small blue-furred alien followed her everywhere, chattering constantly about everything and nothing. He was annoying sometimes, but Una found that she did not mind. His cheerfulness was refreshing. Hana joined their group as well. The silver-skinned Velthian was quiet and thoughtful, a perfect balance to Pio's energy. She and Yuna had long conversations about science, philosophy, and the nature of strength. Others joined too. Students who had been bullied. Students who had been afraid. Students who wanted to learn from Yuna, to understand how someone so small could be so strong. Yuna did not teach them to fight. She taught them something more important. She taught them to stand up. Strength is not about muscles, she told them one evening when they gathered in the common room. Strength is about will. The will to say no. The will to protect yourself. The will to protect others. You do not need to be a fighter to be strong. You need to refuse to be weak. Her words spread through the academy. Students who had always been victims started to push back against their bullies. Not with violence, but with courage. With unity. With the simple act of saying, "No, this is not acceptable." The bullies found themselves outnumbered, outmatched, not physically, but socially. The culture was changing, one person at a time. 6 months after the incident, Yuna received a message from Earth. It was from her mother. "Dear Yuna," the message read, "we received your letter and the video. Your father watched it 17 times. He's very proud. He says you move just like he taught you. Your brother says you are the coolest person in the galaxy and wants to learn to fight like you. I'm just glad you are safe. We miss you very much. Please take care of yourself. Love, Mom." Yuna smiled as she read the message. She missed her family too. Missed the cherry blossoms in spring. Missed her grandmother's cooking. Missed the sound of rain on the roof of their house. But she knew she was where she needed to be. The galaxy was vast and strange, and sometimes cruel. But it was also full of possibilities. Full of people who needed help. Full of stories waiting to be written. She typed a reply. "Dear Mom, Dad, and Jin, I am doing well. I have made some friends. The food here is strange, but not terrible. Tell Dad, I remembered everything he taught me. Tell Jin I will bring him the best alien gift I can find. I love you all. I will be home for vacation. Love, Yuna." She sent the message and closed her device. The next day, Yuna went to class as usual. She sat in her seat near the back, took out her notes, and prepared to learn. Pio sat next to her, still talking about some drama between 2 students in his dormitory. Hana sat on her other side, reading a book about quantum physics. The teacher entered and began the lesson. Everything was normal. Everything was peaceful. But just before the lesson started, the door opened one more time. A new student walked in. He was tall and thin, with pale skin and eyes that seemed to shift between blue and green. He looked nervous, clutching his books tightly to his chest. "Class," the teacher said, "we have a new transfer student. His name is Tae. He comes from a small colony on the outer rim. Please make him feel welcome." Tae looked around the room with frightened eyes. When he saw all the different alien species staring at him, he seemed to shrink. Some students at the front whispered to each other. One of them, a large alien with scales, smiled in a way that was not friendly. Yuna recognized that smile. She had seen it on Greg's face many times before. She stood up. The whole class turned to look at her. "Tae," she said calmly, "there is an empty seat here. Next to me." Tae looked at her with surprise. Then hope. Then gratitude. He walked to the back of the room and sat down in the empty seat. The scaled alien at the front stopped smiling. He knew who Yuna was. Everyone did. Yuna nodded at Tae and turned back to face the front. Pio leaned over and whispered, "Here we go again." Hannah smiled and shook her head. "Humans," she murmured. "Always collecting strays." Yuna said nothing. She just opened her notebook and started taking notes. Some things never changed. There would always be bullies. There would always be victims. The galaxy would always have cruelty and kindness, weakness and strength, fear and courage. But as long as there were people willing to stand up, to say no, to protect those who could not protect themselves, there was hope. Una had not come to the Galactic Academy to be a hero. She had come to learn, to grow, to find her place in the universe. But if being a hero was what it took to make things better, then so be it. She was a human from Earth, a Deathworld girl with iron in her spine and fire in her heart, and she was just getting started. The lesson began. The sun of a distant star shone through the windows. Somewhere in the academy, Greg was apologizing to students he had hurt. Somewhere else, bullies were learning that their reign was over. And in a classroom near the back of the main building, a small human girl sat surrounded by friends, taking notes, learning about the galaxy, and waiting for the next challenge. Whatever came next, she would be ready. She always was.